Alrighty, double check everything, make sure I have my microphone turned on properly. Yep, looks good. Now I did have to adjust that a little. Hopefully that's enough. So, day 3. Yeah, camera's pointing in the right direction, mostly. Should be a little bit more that way. I've been messing around with the desk a little bit, cleaning stuff up. So I might have knocked the camera. Well, that camera. Not that one. So yeah. Like the name of the stream says, silver. It's a couple of different silver parts we've got to do. Same as we've been doing. I'm just going to tackle one colour at a time. So that means chainmail silver by Vallejo. This is the base for all the gems and the sockets around them. Depending on how we go, I'm not entirely sure, we may start on some lead belcher as well. Because of how this one's applied, normally only needs about one coat. So it shouldn't be too horrible to just do one coat and then move on to the next thing. What will be horrible is doing the lead belcher, because there's a lot of detail on these models that will need it. Not so much on the custodian guard, who only really need a couple of pieces on their weapons. But when we move on to the bikey boys, that's going to take a lot. This morning I went through, while I had some time, there was a couple of spots on the gold where I needed to touch up because it didn't quite, when I was airbrushing, didn't quite hit everything. So I just grabbed a medium base brush, went through and tidied all that up. I was going to have to tidy up at some point anyway, so I figured I'd get it done off screen because it won't really make much of a difference. Zoom that in a little. So like I said, for the silver, it's mostly stuff like this. And most of their shoulder pads have, well, I think every shoulder pad has at least one gem on it. Some have more. Some have them on their belts. The ones on their knuckles, I will do after I've painted the leather, because they've got leather wraps around their hands. Even though this is an air paint, I think partially because it's going over an already metallic colour, it coats really well for this job. As long as I'm careful, there won't be too much stuff to clean up tonight. Can't really see his belt, so it won't matter. So it's as simple as that for most of them. You can go on the end over there. This only has the one on it. Oh no, two. There's one there. And the reason I try and pick these out in silver, not only does it just break up the gold a little bit, but it means that when I'm going through and doing the gems, I'm having a much easier time spotting them rather than just trying to paint a tiny dot of red. My eyesight not being the best, having a clear visual marker of where I'm looking for is very important. The gem paints are, they're not picky to deal with, but I try to be pretty quick with, I'm not working on you yet. I try to be pretty quick with it so it doesn't dry into the brushes too much. And I completely forgot that on their arm, on their shoulders, on their elbows, is another set of gems on each elbow. So now I'm going to have to get those two models back and check over them again. There's one on his belt. I did adjust the camera towards me a little bit, so it'll be easier for me to hold it in frame while I'm leaning on the bench. That one's barely visible, so I just got some silver under, I won't worry about the red. Same with that one. Because it's barely visible, the silver might be seen, but the red won't. For this guy, however, it'll be easily visible. Now when I say I cleaned up the gold, I haven't touched the gold on the spears yet. Especially around here. That won't get touched until after I've done all the blending work on the blades. I know I'd done it with Valerian, but then I realised that's kind of a silly idea. At some point, the missus and daughter will get home because they've gone out shopping. Because my daughter only has, it's only her first week of school, she has Wednesdays off. So at some point she's probably going to run into the house screaming, "Daddy, Daddy, I'm home." So just prepare thy ears. She is still yet to master the art of quietly announcing her presence. Shield dudes. There's a big gem on the shield. So you can see what I was talking about. The silver here coats really well. And still being an acrylic paint, it's easy to clean up. That one can barely be seen. So providing I can do all this in a good time, I may start on one of the bikes for all the lead belcher. Oh, he doesn't have a gem on his chest. He's got like a little grill there instead. Huh? And on the weekend, if I've moved my painting and streaming stuff out into the shed, on Sunday another channel called Back to Basics does their hobby day, so I may pop in, join them and paint for a bit on stream. If you've seen my troll swamp bases, Back to Basics, or the YouTube hit the spot, is actually the company that, well, I say company, the guy who makes those bases. It's a business running out of Adelaide. So he does the paint racks that I use. I've got one of his brushes sitting here that I've still never really tested out. Some of my mates use his flying bases. They're a magnetic flying base. So instead of slotting into a little hole with a round socket like that, you glue a magnet in there and then this stand can come off and on. Which is a really nice idea. And I've got some mates that absolutely swear by them. Do the Maltese cross here in silver as well, since there's a gem in the middle of it, because that'll be easier than trying to, oh, there's one here as well, easier than just trying to get the little circle in the middle. I can always wash with a little Nun oil to bring back the detail. That one's difficult to get into. I'm not using too many shades. Oh, that's going to need to get cleaned up later. Yeah, I'm trying not to use too many shade paints on these models, because the way it changes the gold a bit. And that's the one I forgot. All the freaking notifications again. Every time I stream. So this here can come in silver as well. Probably applied that a little bit thick. I'll just add some extra interest to it. So the rules I'm using for this one are the Vexilla Magnifica. I just seen another gem. So what this one does is give enemies -1 to hit my custodies while they're within range. Yep, just gently. And because there's not much need for a second coat of this, if I do any work tonight, it'll be just tidying up any spots where I've got this that shouldn't have it. Any overspill. Nothing there. So powering through nice and easy here. This dude's got some on his hip. Well, most of them you can't see the hip anyway, so it won't matter if I've missed them. If you do come to Arc40k and want to poke fun at the gems that I've missed, please feel free to do so. Or you could just leave a comment below and let me know before I get there. This is a dude that I think I've already done everything on. I'm just going to double check. Yep, don't see any extra gems today. On Saturday, if I get some time, I'm going to try and make sure I've got all of the heads base coated and accounted for. Because I'm trying to avoid helmets in this army, I've just got to double check that I've got. I know I have more heads on sprue, but make sure I've got all the heads I need clipped off and ready to go. These guys have gems on their knee pads. There. They've still got them on their elbows. I don't see any others. Oh wait, is that supposed to be a gem? That's something I should check on my reference photos. Yes, that is supposed to be a gem on the back of his hand. The importance of reference photos, once again. Highly recommend anyone who's ever painting an army, even if you doing your own color scheme, have a look at the reference photos on GW. Oh, that's a spot I didn't look. Yeah, he's got gems at the bottom of his belt as well. So yeah, even if you're doing your own color scheme, it's really handy to be able to see what a sculpted detail is. You know, what was the intention behind it? So is this a gem? And some people I've seen complain that some of the older ones are painted, like some of the little bumps on Eldar are painted as gems and some aren't. So some of them are just aesthetic. And then I've had a friend who had people complain at him that he didn't paint all of them as gems at an event. So his model wasn't fully painted. I do still have a little bit of gold here. And there is a spot there where I spilled some black paint. So I can tidy that up as well. So just these little bits at the bottom, some of them are going to get covered by other details. So probably not all of them will get the red, just for the sake of my sanity, or whatever's left of my sanity. So he's got some on his shins. Again at the bottom here. One there. One there. Oh, I forgot to look at the shoulders. Whoops. Back to the other ones. How very silly of me. Of course they've got gems on their shoulders, even if they've got different shoulders. How dare not every piece of their armour have gems on it? This one's got 2 gems on each shoulder. One tiny one, and one not so tiny one. Yep, this guy's only got one. There we go. Bikes. So we've got, they don't have the same shoulders, so there's none there. The same elbows. Why am I confusing elbows with shoulders? So we have one there, one there, one there, one there, none on the chest, no obvious ones on the bike. So the bikes are actually nice and easy for that. You don't have one on your chest. You do have one on your hip plate. The hip plate on the other side you can't see. So nice and easy. Picking these up, I am noticing there is a couple of little spots on the spears that could still use a little bit of black. Can't see a gem there, there's a gem there. Nice. Oh. So, for some of the metal details on the bikes, I'm actually going to start, instead of using lead belcher, I'm thinking I might go with Iron Warrior, which is a little bit darker, because that will add some extra variations. Again, variations for everything. Most people want to do a 3-color minimum for their army. I try and aim a little bit higher than that. Not for any particular reason other than the more colour there is, sometimes it's just easier to pick out what something is. So I think for the exhausts, I'll go with the Iron Warrior. The engine itself, I do the lead belcher, because oh, do I actually have a pot of that anymore? I did have non-oil gloss. Yep, I do. And since engines normally have a little bit of oil over top of them, especially in 40k when everything is sacred oils, it can be nice to give an extra effect. It's not much of a hassle, and it just adds that little something. We'll darken it down to about the same as Iron Warrior normally. Actually, while I'm doing this as well, the jet engines at the back can have the same thing. And yes, it looks like I'm making shit up as I go. That's because I am. I am 100% making this up as I go. And if you expect anything else from me, you're going to be sorely mistaken. I may actually, in the center of these, since there is actually a little bit of a wall at the back, spray in some Baharoth blue. Again, it's not going to be much of a detail. Some people won't even notice it. It doesn't have to be a great job, because just having the extra colour there does the work. There's of course going to be parts on the paint job where I do, real highlighting, like edge highlighting and stuff. But for the most part, I want just the fact that there's an extra colour to show the definition. Nah. I was thinking of something, but I won't do it. I was thinking of the front grille. But the front grille can go lead belcher as well. And some of the colours, as I go through and get closer to completing the model, I may change. So like the Aquila on the front, I may end up going back with the chainmail and just painting the entire thing in the silver. It'll depend how the model looks once it gets closer to being finished. It's also one of the reasons I like to try and block in colours when I'm doing armies, because the closer I get to being finished with a model, the better idea I get about, do I need to add an extra colour? Is this too flat? For my Space Marines, the answer is yes, they need extra spot colours. They need leather and stuff like that put on them, because the majority of their paint job is just lead belcher. So even though we're nowhere near finished, you can see, because I've been picking out colours, it starts to look a lot more complete. That part of the exhaust still needs to get done. Yep, that works. Ever so slightly running out of paint on the palette. But to be honest, I thought this was going to take a whole lot more time than it is. No. Terminator fell down. Bad Terminator. Yeah, I'm thinking of buying a new desk for inside and just leaving my inside set up for what I used to do, is playing games. Before I set up a dedicated painting table on half of it. Which, given the size of the desk I bought, you'd think I would have just already worked out that it was going to be a painting desk. But I used to paint at my coffee table because my coffee table folds up so you can use it. Well, I think the original purpose is like if you're having dinner, you can fold it up to your chair and sit there and, you know, comfortably eat. But I was using that for painting, not ever thinking about the desk that I had sitting here that's 6 foot by 6 foot in an L shape, and I was only using one side for the computer. I mean, I did use this side for the sewing machine a couple of times. Maybe I could set that back up in here. Finally get my sewing machine set up and use it every now and then. Relearn how to use it. Because I used to be okay at using a sewing machine, but now I only use it like once every couple of years. Mostly because I just don't have access to it, it's sitting in storage. Alright. Onto the lead belcher. I'm going to leave the bikes. I'm not going to do the lead belcher on the bikes right now because I've still got the Iron Warrior drying. I don't want to be trying to handle them. We can start on the Terminators. Start filling out the lead belcher details on here. Pull a few funny faces as I'm trying to concentrate. Get all the spikes. Paint the front of the barrel. No, we've been over this. I do not drill barrels. I know some people get it all into the idea that the weapons should be realistic and there should be barrels drilled and stuff like that. They're toy fucking soldiers. I shouldn't swear, but they're toy soldiers. We don't need to go into that level of realism. Just that little part there. On the ejection port. There's for some reason on both sides. Even though there's one barrel. I've been trying very hard not to swear on stream. Since I've got so many kids now, I'm trying very hard not to swear in general. But I spent years as a chef swearing at everyone and everything. Sometimes it gets a little hard to switch off. Actually, this back part here can be silver as well. Since this spike's going to be silver too, that will make it match. Do. Must keep moving, must keep moving. Really happy with the amount of progress I've been making on these streams. I've gone from doing so little hobby work to smashing out an army in quite a respectable pace. I'm not going to be winning favourite army, though the Necrons did get a couple of votes last time. That was nice. So yeah. It was a bit of an ego boost when I found out I had, well, from talking to people, apparently I had at least 3 votes out of 150 for best army. A lot of people liked the display board I made. Didn't quite max out my painting score, but again it was at a level given the amount of effort I put in. The painting score was pretty good for me. I just wanted to make the bare minimum. I showed up, I had a fully painted army. No, everything wasn't perfect, but it was there. And one of my mates ended up scoring more points during games than I did, but because of the army list he took and how composition gets marked, he ended up 60 places lower than me. So I feel kind of bad for him, because really he should have finished. Like, his painting score was higher than mine, and his battle score was higher than mine. So really he should have finished above me. So these ones have different. Because these are the older spears that came in the box. It's nice how they changed. It was only a little change when they went to the Wardens and the Terminators. But you can see that they'd really thought about how they wanted to make the models. They took some of the feedback and some of the ideas they had and improved on it. Even though it's a very similar weapon, has the same profile, has almost the same silhouette, there's a couple of nice little changes visually that I really like. Changing the magazine out, the fact that the assembly process was changed so you could have the axe or the spear. You can see how similar they are. Like, if it was a Space Marines army, you'd say they've probably just been given newer, updated equipment. But my understanding for the Custodians is they grow very attached to the gear they have, and they don't tend to change it out. Unless they absolutely had to. So moving from a Custodian Guard up to a Warden wouldn't really necessitate you getting a newer model spear. If you swapped over to an axe, yeah, that could change a couple of things. I would have loved to have seen the Wardens have the shield option. I think the shields, of all of the weapons the Custodians have, the sword and shield probably look the best to me. But the spear, well, all of the weapons are still really nice, I should say. We're about 45 minutes. Let's showing 45 minutes on my timer. So I'm not going to, I don't think I'm quite going to get all of this finished on the infantry. I'm certainly not going to get started on the bikes. Bikes, I think, will be an off-camera thing. Because for the amount of time I'm going to spend on it, trying to fill in the little silver pieces next to their legs because I didn't think of sub-assemblies. Yeah, it's going to be painful. It's probably going to take a lot of extra cleanup. Don't drop it. I'm really tempted to drop some of these guys off their bases to make it a little easier to get into their weapons and stuff. Because when I put them on base, I only super glue 1 foot, so I can snap them off anytime I need to finish the base and fix any little details up. Yep. This is going to require a little bit of tidy up at the end. Well, not at the end, but at some point. But I'll do these in lead belcher as well. If it wasn't for all of the little details they added onto the Custodes armor that you can paint colors, they'd be really freaking boring. You'd spend just days edge highlighting and still not get anywhere. They're beautifully sculpted models, but painting them would be boring. So that breaks up that pretty nicely. I had considered doing the wings on the shoulders in silver. Actually, yesterday I was talking about doing these white, wasn't I? Oh well, they're silver now. Maybe in time, if I build some more wardens and stuff, I may do a different colour for these and use that as a different banner. With a new, that's going to need cleanup. With the new Arcs of Omen detachment, being able to take all the extra elite characters, you could fit 2 Vexillus Praetors into an army. It'd be kind of nice and easy. Now, a bit of water to try and clean that up. And then I can touch it up with some Necro Gold later. I'm just going to move these 4 over here. So I'm not going to get through the shield, guys. That's okay. The shield guys, their sword is complicated for the colouring, so that's probably going to be something I'm going to want to look at the reference photos as I'm doing it. Just breathe. Just breathe and paint. Smile and wave, boys. Smile and wave. If I move this desk outside, I might actually be able to fit a chair underneath it so I can sit in a better position instead of leaning over, because I've got a printer and a filing cabinet and everything stuck under the desk and I can't slide the chair in underneath it. That might be nice. Maybe I'll be able to do longer streams. My back won't be screaming at me. And I'll probably still have the same issue of being sore, but it might not be to the same extent. And to finish this last little bit, I'm just going to need to add a little bit more paint. No. Didn't want to have to add more paint. Thought I'd have just enough on the palette to finish everything. Yep, missus is home. I can hear the car pulling up. Be prepared. I can hear my daughter yelling already. Last one. Please don't make me get extra bit of silver out. Just enough, I think. Just enough. And that's going to be where we end things. So I'll get the silver on the swords done. Maybe get the gold on them done as well. And then, yeah. Stream again tomorrow. Have a good one, guys.